If we want to tell the story of Charnwood Forest, we have to look at documents dating back hundreds and hundreds of years. This might take us back into the late Anglo-Saxon period. We're more likely to begin, though, in the post-conquest period. This requires a certain set of skills that not everyone may have. Lots of the documents are in Latin, some of them might be in Old English, and even when we get to the period when the documents start to be written in English, it's not standard modern English, it's quite difficult to grasp. For Charnwood Forest alone, there must be somewhere in the region of 2,000 to 3,000 medieval documents alone. So what we did in order to tackle that, we recruited volunteers who particularly wanted to be able to learn the skill of reading these old documents, and we ran a number of courses. Once training was completed, volunteers worked on original documents at the Record Office, either on their own, in groups, or with some supervision. We set up a reading group after the end of the course to help with ongoing practice. Volunteers enjoyed working as a group and furthering their interest in paleography. Our volunteers have all taken different things from their experience of learning paleography. Here are just one or two of the things that they had to say about it.
Being in the paleography class was quite daunting to start off with anyway, because I thought everybody else was going to know a lot more than I did. But in fact, it didn't turn out quite like that. So it was very interesting, and feeding off other people and knowing that other people were in the same state as I was, and not knowing anything basically, was very good. I really enjoyed it and I learned an awful lot.
I would describe paleography as reading old handwriting.
If I had to describe paleography, I suppose it's daunting, being old, challenging at the same time, but really good fun.
If I were to try to describe paleography in 3 words, I would say understanding medieval life.
Interesting, sometimes exciting, and it's not in 3 words, but it's like being a detective a lot of the time. You're trying to find out what somebody from years and years ago was doing. And when you do actually come across something that you know was right, then it gives you a real feeling of satisfaction. It's just really good.
No, I'm afraid I can't describe it in 3 words. I can make a sentence and say 2 or 3 points about paleography. As far as I'm concerned, it's a great enlightenment to me.
Well, a document that was particularly memorable to me was something that I cooperated with another person on, and it was an accounts roll. I mean, it doesn't sound interesting, doesn't it? But it was really, really funny to go through and to try and understand and to see where the scribe had changed and everything else. And it was just a great laugh, as well as interesting and a learning experience.
Some of the documents that we go through have different beginnings. Some are quite fancy, some are quite straightforward. Like, this is the goods, this is the chattels. And the ones that tend to stand out for me are the ones that are in a lot of detail, which then say in the reign of Elizabeth, Queen of Ireland, England and France, and dated, or it could even say in the reign of, with actually saying which year of the king or queen's reign.
I think the documents, plural, which are memorable to me, are those that are a bit quirky. I can remember one about our church at Thurkeston here, where a man was talking about repairing a roof beam that his father had done. So it's the personal touches as well.
Yes, I think the most memorable document that I've done was the Rothley court roll from the late 14th century, because it was the first medieval one that I'd really tackled on my own. And what was quite exciting about it was that the heading was about the prior of the Hospitallers of St John, because I hadn't really connected Rothley before that with the hospitals, the Knights Hospitallers. I'll get the words right. And actually seeing the names of people that were from such a long time ago, and they sort of jump out of the page at you. They're real people. It just is quite exciting. If you're a history buff, it's just something that sort of makes your mind light up, because you see these people that are from such a long time ago, but they're real because their names are there on the paper.
I can say that for the first time in my life, since the paleography course finished, I've been to the Wigston Record Office on a number of occasions and really enjoyed it.
A few times, yes, but mainly, of course, I can do it on computer at home, on the Dropbox.
We did have to do quite a lot of practicing of the paleography outside the class. We got a lot of homework, which took up quite a lot of time, but it was well worth doing because it just taught you such a lot. Because I'd done one medieval document before, but that was quite a long time ago, and I'd forgotten a lot of it. And it was a lot more difficult, some of the documents that we did in class. It was a bit daunting doing it on your own at home, but then we got a lot of feedback when we went to the next lesson. It was very useful, yeah.
Well, I've always been interested in history, and particularly local history, albeit that this is not my part of the country, as you can probably tell by my accent. But that's the reason why I do like English, particularly English history.
I think I was attracted to learning paleography because I like historical things, I like original documents, and it's just great to be able to read them as they are written. And also it's like being a detective. And I love that bit, trying to solve the mysteries and the bits I find hard.
The very first thing I think that attracted me to the paleography course was the fact that I've been interested in local history for a lot of years, but I've tended to back off and just use secondary sources because I'd look at a document and think, I can't do that. And that's why I took it.
When I was at school, we studied Chaucer in English, and that got me interested in reading the original text, and then I translated it myself into modern English. And when I heard about the paleography, it sort of rang bells, and the Chaucer that I did at school, so it got me involved in it.
What attracted me to the paleography course is that I have spent possibly 30 or 40 years with lots of documents. I've been able to cope with 18th century, 16th century documents, but the big attraction was actually getting into the grips of the medieval period.
I just wanted to learn more about looking at old documents, partly for my own reasons, because I've been doing my family history and I've got quite a long way back with some of the branches, and I couldn't read some of the documents that were to do with my own family, so that was, I knew it was going to be helpful for that. And also because I've been doing some other research as well as for Charnwood roots. So it's been extremely useful for me.
I would say that my favourite part of the paleography course was, as I say, the interaction with other people. It was just so funny at times when we couldn't make something out and we were trying to puzzle it out, looking at horrible W's and great K's, and it was really fun.
I think my favourite part was looking at the abbreviations, because they're the most difficult thing, I think, in medieval paleography. With later documents, most of it's written out in full, but there's so many abbreviations in medieval documents, and you really have to know them. You can't guess at them, you've got to be taught them.
I think meeting other people with a similar interest was very important. And as I've mentioned before, really, the chance to do things together, to do this together, rather than isolated in a little room with my computer. My favourite symbol I like because so much fun is made of it, and you see it in words like ye olde porky shop, things like that. So this actually means the, although if you read it, it's a Y and a ye, an E, so it seems like yeah. So yes, I rather like that one.
Yeah, this is a symbol or an abbreviation I do like, which is a per or a par.
This symbol is an ES, and it looks quite similar to what we do nowadays if we're writing quickly. So that's quite a nice one for me, so it's an easy one, which is why I like it. Another one is this one, which is the, which again in most documents is, again, a simple abbreviation.
I really love this one, which is Quay, which is short for because.
My favourite symbol is this one, which is the symbol for an RI, and it was my favourite because it confirmed what I'd guessed at, was the prior of the Hospitallers of St John of Jerusalem, because it took me ages to work out what this word was, and then somebody explained to me that this is what it meant, and it confirmed what I'd guessed at, which is what you do a lot in paleography, is guessing, and then something happens to confirm what you've guessed.
My favourite letter form is the bucket R. Firstly, I like it because Susan calls it a bucket, so that helps me remember what it is. And also I like it because it's very easy to confuse it with the C. When I see the C, I want to say R and have to remember that, no, the R is a bucket.
Well, rather obviously, this is my favourite medieval letter form. Not only is it very beautiful, but it's called after me, K.
Right, well, my favourite letter form is this one, which is the bucket R. Very easy to recognise when you've seen it.
The letter form that I'm holding up is a H. There's two main reasons for it. It's the same symbol that you use when you look at the monetary value of things. For the pounds, it's very similar little letter. So I quite like it for that reason, because it's to do with money.
This early medieval K, I like. It's turned up in lots and lots of documents, and I got to recognise it very early on.
I think my favourite letters are any capitals, really. This is a capital B, two different versions of it. They're just so beautiful, and they are drawn with such care most of the time.
Well, I'm sorry to say that I don't like this letter very much at all, and this is because you would not believe that this is meant to be a capital W. It could be anything else, couldn't it? A B, an R, but never a W.
On the other instance, this one here, it's a minim, so it's lots of lines, doesn't generally have dots on it, it can be I's, U's, and a mixture of in between, which makes it really hard to work out what the actual word is.
Yes, I really don't like this letter form, because I always want to say it's a B, because it looks like a B, and it's not, it's a V. So I sort of get quite annoyed at myself.
My least favourite ones are these, which is what they call the minims. The trouble with these is that they can mean an awful lot of different things. This could be an M, or two N's, or several I's, and you just have to guess at what it is, and the context hopefully will give it you.
Don't like this one very much. What is it for a start? It is. I've got to look, sorry about that. I've forgotten what it was.
That's quite good, actually.
And I ain't got my glasses on either. Oh, it's an H, yeah.
Maybe I should have actually.
It's an H, yeah. That's why I forgot it, you see.
I've just been asked what did I find difficult, and I think the answer is most of it. But because I'd had a very good teacher of the medieval paleography, and because I've persevered, I think, in practicing, then it's become a lot easier than it was at first.
Yes, I did find things very difficult to start with. But once I got into the flow, there were a few mistakes, obviously, but were corrected.
In the classes when we were being taught, the thing I found a bit frustrating was when we went round the table, because sometimes I could see things straight away and then the person who was being asked couldn't, and you wanted to jump in all the time, but then you weren't giving the other person a chance to have a go at it. But the best way I found was just a sort of free-for-all, and then everybody could jump in with the answers if they knew the answers.
Yes, I've visited the record office on many occasions in the past, but what this has made me do is actually attempt to look at documents I might not have looked at before I actually did the polyography course. So yes, it's widened my horizons considerably.
I've definitely spent more time looking at original documents and thoroughly enjoying it.
Yes, having done the class, it really did inspire me to come and do more medieval documents. I'd done some Tudor and Stuart documents before, but I wanted to get on with the older documents after I'd done the course, yes.
I'm still looking at the documents that I've got to do, which is the probate inventories on Belton. Again, it is as and when I get time with a young family, but I'm still thoroughly enjoying it and have it on my list of things to try and get done of an evening when I get a chance.
I think paleography has changed because with the way I look at local history, because you have the chance to see the original documents and understand them, whereas before I would really have struggled and probably not even tried, because I would have felt beaten before I started, or I would have tried and only understood half of it.
I think learning paleography has changed the way I look at local history, because you're looking at documents that people have actually produced such a long time ago. And I just find that really exciting, that, you know, local history, I've always been interested in history, but sometimes it can be very boring. But working with an original document that somebody has actually written on, it's just so just exciting. I enjoy it.
When the reading group has finished, with Susan as our leader and Jo helping now, yes, we're planning to continue. I think we all find that it's a tremendous advantage just to be together and to discuss the documents and discuss the words and even the individual letters. So yes, we're going to do that.
When I went for the training, I was hoping to learn more about and being able to read different documents just as a new skill to learn. And we've done quite a lot of broad range of documents, which I wasn't quite expecting.
Well, I hope to get out of the paleography classes a more interest in the way that people actually thought and wrote.
What I hope to get out of the training was to actually start looking at 14th century documents, to actually start to see landscapes and people and organisations and manners coming to life through the paleography.
If someone wanted to look at the documents that are out or the pieces of publications that have been around to do with the project and weren't sure, just give it a go. Because we have meetings, we're all quite helpful, we all chip in and understand different bits and pieces, so it's a really great way of learning.
It would be absolutely impossible for me to teach myself paleography because the great attraction in this was the interaction with other people and actually someone telling you and helping you along. I wouldn't have done it on my own.
I've tried in the past to learn some Egyptian, because that's another area that I'm interested in, but that I failed at. So I wouldn't have been able to do paleography without being involved in the courses and having the training and the teaching that we've had.
You can't really do a lot of this on your own. You've got to have somebody else who knows a bit more than you do. There are lessons you can get online, but actually having a real live person that you can ask questions of is much better.
If I had to rate paleography, 10 is not enough.
Well, I would rate paleography out of 10 at 14.
I give paleography 10.
As far as I'm concerned, it's not a matter of paleography, it's my teacher. I'd give her 10 every time.
The rating I would give it is a number 10. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of learning. I don't know what else to say.